has come down a fraction like a sad doggy, but not quite. Okay, so that's really important.
It looks like an elephant.
It does look a little bit like an elephant, you're right. Okay, what we've just previously done in our previous step stage is we've stitched up our centre back up to the top of the zip. We've attached our facing, we've given it a quick press. I've pressed my seams closed. You can press them open if you want. That would, the way you treat this top coming into the zip would depend on what's the bottom of your skirt. If you've got a split at the bottom of your skirt, then this would be treated as an open seam. But if you haven't, if there's nothing that just goes straight into a hem, then it can be easily treated as a closed seam on your lining. So I'm going to treat it as a closed seam, and now we're going to attach our zip into it. Now what you will notice is that the right side of your zip is going to end up being on the wrong side of your lining, because then we're going to bag this out and stitch that to it, so that right side must be facing towards your main. Okay, but this is the side that's going to be facing towards your skin. Alrighty, so that's really important, which means to do that you need to sit and work out the direction that it's going to go. So if that's the direction it's going to go, so which means that your right side of your lining will face the, when you stitch it on, will face the wrong side of your zip, so that it flicks around, and then that's right side of your zip is on the wrong side of your lining. Okay. First thing we're going to do is make sure that the top, the distance between the top edge cut edge and our stopper, our metal stopper, should be 13 mils, just like we do on any other normal zip. We need to grab our double-sided tape. We're going to tape him in place, because we're now going to bag him out. We will in a minute, yep. Yep. But I'm just going to tape him in place first to hold him in place. Remembering we're going to measure that 13 mils to make sure that gap there is 13 mils. Where we're actually going to be stitching is about halfway into our tape, which means if our leather facing and our lining has a 1 centimetre seam allowance, we need to, and what we're stitching on our zipper when we stitch it in is about halfway, which is about 5 mil seam allowance. We need to set the edge of our zipper tape at least 5 mils away from the edge of our seam, our cut line, sorry. Okay, so once we've figured out that that's correct, we can pull him off. Make sure that gap is 13 mils at the top there. Place him in the right place. See how I'm sitting at about 5 mils away from that cut edge. Another one down here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change, and well, we probably don't need to change for this, we can use our normal foot for this one. We'll change it over later, because we're not running really close to our teeth, we're sitting halfway in between, so we should be able to run our normal foot down the side there. If you find that your normal foot is wider, I'm not sure how wide your, because I've got a fiberglass adhered foot with my Teflon, that my feet, the width of each foot might be slightly skinnier than the width of your feet on yours if you've got a solely Teflon one. So just check the width. You might find that because if your foot is actually wider, you might not be able to use this foot. You might actually have to change to your zipper foot to be able to get around that. Okay, so I think yours does actually. I think yours. So I might just change over so you can actually see me do it with a zipper foot. Might be better for you guys. But if your foot is skinny enough to do it, you don't really need, you can actually still use your normal foot. Depends on how wide your foot is. So that's set. Okay, I am going to put it in place, back tack at the top. Remembering that's where our pivot point is down there, so I need to get level with that. When I come down, I need to get level with that pivot point there and stop. Okay, put my needle down in my fabric and stop. One more stitch, I think, down there, yep, okay. Put my needle down in, I'm going to pivot him around, get my snips. I'm going to cut down from my corner and into, underneath, into that. Don't cut your zipper tape when you're doing it. So lift up your zipper tape, cut diagonally from the end there into, lift up the zipper tape, underneath, into that pivot point, and then I'm going to pivot that around. Pull that fabric out, pivot that around, make sure it's absolutely in alignment, and I'm going to go across the bottom. You notice what I'm doing is I'm lifting my foot up all the time to stop that fabric from jamming, because I've got my Teflon foot on. My Teflon foot grabs things, so it's not going to let me stitch it over with my fabric. So I'm dealing with 2 layers of fabric and no leather. Once I've got to that other corner, make sure it's in, I'm going to have to go one more stitch, I think, to get into that next pivot corner. Or half a stitch, maybe not a full stitch. That's better. Now I can snip into, lift him up, cut into, not cutting into your tape, you're cutting underneath, up, and get to it. Corner, I think he's right. Now pivot him around to go up the other side, pull him back, like that. Up and down, oops, yeah, now the important thing to do before you start actually going up the other side is to make sure that your tops are in alignment. See how at the moment my tops aren't in alignment? So that means that one of my sides is stretched up a little bit, so let's make sure that he's sitting level at the top here. So line him up again so that he's sitting level at the top. Put everything back in place. If you want to, grab a little bit of double-sided tape. Stick him in there over, and then you'll be able to realign him where he needs to be. Double-sided tape is great. I know that you're going to want to use it now for everything, but make sure you pull that seam back in, because the tendency for it is to want to go out to be a massive seam, but it should only be 4 or 5 mils coming outside of your zipper tape. Off I go again. Really important that that top is level when you come up to it. Put that zipper the other way, right up to the top. And back tack. Flick him in the other way, you should have, hopefully, not too much effort, should be nicely bagged out, clean finish. Go give him a good old press to make sure he's correct. That's the end of stage 2.